It's Tuesday. It is July 30th. I'm Andrew Hawthorn, and this is The Signal. And all of that stuff together, you know what it means. It's gardening day. We've got Michael Murray, owner of Murray's Gardens in Portugal Cove, St. Phillips here. He's going to answer your questions. We've already got questions. We got people on the line, and you're next. How you doing, Michael?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm looking forward to asking some gardening questions.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to them.
And I hope I get a word in edgewise. We've already got a caller on the line. We've already got some texts. And you folks, you out there listening on this glorious summer day, it's warm everywhere. Have you been enjoying the weather, Michael?
Oh, absolutely. I've been swimming a lot.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Have you? Where are you going swimming?
Well, I swim out in a place called Denny's Pond. Beautiful, clean pond. Was in it too many times yesterday. I'd like to get back there before the day's gone.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get you back there. We won't hold you long. If you have questions or gardening updates, Michael, at Murray's Gardens, they've got 2 centuries worth of gardening info to give you. He's going to have an answer to your question. It might even be a right one. You can call in. The numbers to call, 722-7111 or 1-800-563-8255. You can also text, and I can read out your text. We've got a few of those already as well. 709-327-8206. Our first caller is on the line right now. It's Neil in Carbonear. How you doing, Neil?
Not bad. You two guys, pretty good, I guess. It's right here now. It's 31 degrees here on my back porch, so it's pretty toasty. Although it's a breezy wind, you know. So I guess it's not too bad, but I wouldn't want to have to do anything too physical today.
Yeah, it's a bit warm. Hey, how are you beating the heat out there, Neil?
Well, I'm hanging out in the basement. I got I'm down in the workshop today building some things, and it's a good way of doing it because it's I got a dehumidifier down there, and the temperature down in the basement is 19 degrees. So
yeah.
That's a good drop, you know.
That's what we do too. Natural air conditioning. What's your question today about gardening?
Well, I want to give a bit of an update first, I guess. My things seem to be growing pretty good out here. I think my raspberries seem to be a little bit early. I don't know, but I don't know what Mike got to say about it. But everything seems to be lush. But we're soon going to need some rain. I can tell you that. You know, I'm looking at my potato stalks there now, and they're starting to wilt. My turnips are wilting a bit. And, you know, it's coming to the time now. You know, we had 75 millimeters of rain 2 weeks ago, but that's long gone. I'd say the water table is down a fair bit. You know, and Mike we'll just mention about the raspberries. I got a really good pollination this year, and thanks to the honeybees up the street here. You grow raspberries yourself, or?
Yes, we do. But I guess, Neil, the issue is, like you've said, water. As a matter of fact, I think that's the theme for today's show is water. Yeah, because you're right. We're in desperate need of some rain. I see the same things. I see good fruit set, but not much size to the berries because they don't have any water to fill them up. So that's a real concern. Earlier, we had a tremendous amount of very lush growth. I mean, I've seen growth on plants 2-3 feet long, and they became very weak. But cutting back helps as well. But no, water is the issue today for sure. I saw a real interesting problem with water the other day. A gentleman was growing pumpkins in a container. And big plants, pumpkins set, pumpkins the size of a softball set up. But the plant had gone into full wilt. Checked, lots of water in the pot. But here's the problem. Sometimes when you get a plant like a member of the cucumber family or pumpkin family, and you can pour all the water you want, but if the plant doesn't have adequate air-water relationship in the soil, it is unable to take up the water. So it goes into a wilt, which is really odd. But then I started to note in my own planters, there was yellowing, a lack of fertility. So, water and nutrition right now is really critical with these high temperatures.
Yes, I got a friend of mine. He's got a pumpkin growing in an old steel washtub.
Yeah.
and the vine is about 10 feet long, and there's a couple of pumpkins doing the same thing. You know, I mean, you always want to water 3 times a day.
Yep.
You know, I mean, it's drinking like a camel, right? I mean, it's just, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
But I have a solution there. I was thinking, as I thought about it, the solution I thought is to basically get something like a half-inch piece of rebar, a stick, something that you can poke in around to get air down around the roots. Because getting air down around the roots, aerating, cultivating the soil, opening up the soil so it drains, gets air into it, in a container particularly, is probably a good idea right now. And then maybe because we're watering so much, pick up your fertility either by using something like an organic fish emulsion, or I'm a great fan of 20-20-20 as a fertilizer.
Yeah, I use that too as well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Containers, even the flowers in the containers, like my hanging baskets
Yes.
here now, they're, I don't know, it's almost like they're in a hardship. And I think the soil is after drying out, is after going quite hard.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I think what you want to do is stir it up, get something in around to mix it up a little bit, get some air into those containers if you can, because just throwing water on it just doesn't seem to be working.
Doesn't do it. Now, what I do is I take my little gardening shovel, I get a little small one, and I go around the edge and break it up a little bit so the water can get down there, because like you said, aeration of the soil is important.
Yep.
Very important,
Yep.
Anyway, that's
Great.
very good, I suppose. Anyway, so
Good luck.
I'm going to enjoy the rest of the show.
Good for you.
And,
Thanks a lot, Neil.
And all you fellas now have a good day. Don't burn up the song.
No, same to you, Neil.
All right.
You too.
All right, have a good one.
Lots
Thank
of
you.
SPF on you today. Careful to hit the table there.
Okay.
Be careful with that one. We got a ton of questions already. Lewis from Clarenville is sending in. They're trying to get dahlia tubers and also a 12-year-old mock orange to bloom. They said that everything looks healthy about the plant, lots of healthy stems, but has never bloomed. What do we do about that? About a dahlia or a mock orange?
A dahlia. Well, a dahlia is a herbaceous perennial tuber, a soft tuber. You've got lots of green growth and it's healthy, then that's a good sign. Odd that you don't have any bloom. Dahlias are known for being prolific bloomers. I think what you want to do is if you can increase your fertility with a formulation that measures 1 part nitrogen, 2 parts phosphorus, and 3 parts potassium. So a 1-2-3 ratio, so it could be 5, 10, 15 as a fertilizer. Try that. It's a little late now in the season for the mock orange. If it isn't blooming now, because I've seen a lot of them in bloom right now, you might want to cut back hard, start your feeding program again, probably focusing on a 1-2-3 formulation to see if you can get some bloom initiated. Sometimes plants stay in a vegetative mode, and they need to be stimulated to bring them out of that. Too much nitrogen can often contribute to too much green growth. And so, again, trying at this time of the year, feeding with that 1-2-3 formulation, 5, 10, 15, for example, if you can get it, mightn't be a bad tactic right now.
There you go. George is on the phone from Gander. Are you there, George?
I am. Thank you so very much, Adam.
Welcome to the show. It's Andrew today, actually. I'm in disguise.
Andrew.
How's the weather out in Gander? Is it very warm out there today?
Oh, hot, enough to burn you up. Although I was in India one time, in southern India, and it was actually 48 degrees, so it's all relative, I guess.
Yeah.
Wow.
Michael, first of all, I'd like to say that I got a large service berry planted I got probably 15, 20 years ago for the birds. The birds go crazy over it.
Yep.
The last few years,
This
I've
is your
had some rust
Tuesday
in it.
afternoon weather.
And it's been my understanding that when you get rust, I think it's called rust, and it's a fungus, and it's there for good. But this year we had a really damp, wet June, and I thought it'd be really bad. But this year it's not nearly as bad, and the birds are back out there eating the berries, and there's just it seems like it's probably only 10% or 15% that actually has the fungus on it.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think that, so much of fungus disorder are related really to environmental issues, high humidity, cool weather. In greenhouse situations, gray molds are a real pest for anything like tomatoes, cucumbers. That's interesting because I have an Amelanchier serviceberry just like that. It suffers a little bit, and I've seen the same thing on ours. I'd suggest this is if you got the patience and the inclination to pick off any of those affected leaves, any affected fruit. Tedious, I'll admit, but getting it out, getting it off-site might help with a sanitation input to clean it up. Prune it out if you have to. But, I've seen, and then the other thing is, then on the berries, you'll see them as they start to ripen sometimes, you'll see that fungus disorder put out a red spotted fruiting body, which then the spores are being disseminated again. Those you really want to get off site if you can.
Right. It's just a little bit funny that it seems like this is the best year now in the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, I think it's the heat. I think it's the fantastic start. I mean, we were just talking yesterday, we had that lovely bunch of weather. Last of June, I was able to go swimming, and I never went swimming in June before, and the water was warm. So that blast of heat then, the rain that we got, I mean, it was ideal growing conditions, and we've had a pretty good June. We've rather had a really good July now. So things are growing like topsy, and boy, we could use a little rain right now, I think.
Absolutely. Matter of fact, some of my rhododendrons, after putting on probably 16 inches so far with new growth.
Yeah.
I'll tell you now, one of my main questions was, a friend wanted me to come over and look at a rhododendron for him. It's kind of very lanky.
Yeah.
It's very sparse. It's probably about 4 to 5 feet tall.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, some of the stems on it was cut probably like 4 feet, nothing on them, no branches, just one stem and a flower at the end of it. One of the problems I noticed is that he wasn't dead-heading. I can tell back the last several as it wasn't dead-headed. And what do you think? Any suggestions?
Oh, absolutely. I think the deadheading, sharing with even electric shears, if it's a big, extensive rhododendrons will prune well. If he can take that new growth back by half. If you're trying to bring shape back into a rhododendron that's gone spindly like that, you're not going to achieve it all within one growing season. So you take it back now if you can. A good time to feed. Again, a focus on a 1-2-3 formulation to encourage bloom. Then you start off next year, I'd prune again, and then a third pruning. But what will happen with these successive smaller prunings is it'll stimulate breaks on the wood, and you'll probably get the plant to start bushing, and those naked lower stems will start to produce buds again, and then you'll fill in again. But it takes that kind of patience to prune, feed, deadhead, and again, a round of deadheading, feeding, pruning. And, if you've got the patience to focus on that over the next 2-3 growing seasons, you'd be surprised how you'll whip that plant back in shape.
Yeah, a couple of branches that were, like I say, about 4 feet that had stems that had no branches on them, I cut them out altogether because there was 1 or 2 new shoots coming up from the roots. Good practice. And I tell you, I asked him what he was feeding it, and he showed me a azalea rhododendron fertilizer, and I told him that as far as I know, I don't think not to use it because I think it's an acidifying fertilizer, and our soil is already too acidic. So I recommended I didn't want to use a granular fertilizer because it was getting a bit late in the summer. So I recommended probably getting a Miracle-Gro water soluble 15-30-15 to put on it.
Yep, good advice. Good advice.
All right.
Great. Thanks,
Always
George.
A pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. Thank you, George.
Thanks for calling in. We've got another caller on the phone. Keith's calling over from Halibukattik in Deer Lake. Keith, are you there?
I'm here. Good afternoon.
Welcome.
The correct pronunciation is Halibuagadik.
Halibuagadik. Perfect.
Which is the literal translation for place of the deer or lake of the deer, which is Deer Lake.
Place of the deer. Okay.
Didn't know that.
Thank you.
Anyway,
thank you for bringing us the culture today. Yes.
Well, every day is a day to learn for a lot of people, so try to do 1 or 2 words a day with people.
I like that.
Anyway, it's 28 here in the shade at noon. Hot enough to skin you.
Time to get in the lake.
Well, later on. It's too warm to salmon fish. That's the problem.
Yeah.
But anyway, we have 3 semi-sweet cherry trees here that I transplanted, probably 20 years ago from a friend of mine. But the last 3 years, we have hardly had any cherries. But while the two apple trees that are next to it, well, last year they had none. This year they are full of apples. We had lots of blossoms in the spring. We had the berries seem to start to form, and then they disappeared. And I don't know if we're doing something wrong or not doing anything, or because around us in the city, because we got a couple at the house in the city, they are full of berries this year.
That same thing happens in my garden too all the time.
Pollinators. Did the plant come into bloom?
The plant came into bloom. The trees came into beautiful white, petals on it, right?
Yeah, lots of bloom.
Yeah, there's lots of pollinators. The apples, two apple trees next to it are full of apples, so they were all pollinated.
Yeah, that's hot.
There's lots of pollinators around. We picked 8 or 10 cups of fireweed last night, made some fireweed jelly, and the field was full of bees last night. Well, so the bees are here in the area.
I wonder then, the other thing is the plant getting, is something disrupting the setting of the fruit, you know? So you got pollinators are working, you've had a bloom. Then if you're not getting fruit set, what is disrupting that? What's causing that problem comes to my mind.
The only thing, go ahead.
No fungus disorders, nothing like that?
No, they're clean trees, not even any that ugly bark on it.
The black knot, no black knot.
No
leaves,
black knot
leaves are clean, nothing on the leaves, no blemishes.
Every now and then there's a black spot comes on some of the leaves, but we've had years where we've had tons of berries, and we've had that little thing in the leaves as well.
So what do you think?
The only thing I like to think of is there was a frost warning here in Cornwall late in May, and maybe it didn't happen in the city, but it happened here. But it didn't affect the trees next to it, the apple trees next to it. So that's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, that's interesting. Is that the apples may have a bit of a tolerance that the semi-sweet cherries don't. I know they can be finicky. And they're kind of, you're pressing the envelope trying to get them. The sour cherries do a little better, but the semi-sweet ones, we're getting on the edge of it. Although I'm always jealous of that region, Nicholsville and Reedville. Beautiful soil, beautiful weather, lots of water. You're in paradise out there. So, to my mind, is that frost the problem here? Did it hit it at that particular time?
I don't know. When we've cut the trees back in the fall and or late winter, and some of the vertical shoots, that kind of stuff over the years, trying to get as much air to them as possible.
Yes, good idea.
I'm sort of at my wit's end. I don't want 3 ornamental bushes in front of my cabin. No. Any fruit.
Yeah, no. So why don't you do this now? You haven't got fruit. It hasn't set. Why don't you prune the tree again and right now start a fertilization program, again, using something like 5, 10, 15, something that brings up the potassium a little bit, and see if that might, because what's happening now is the plant is getting ready for next year. Some of the fruits that'll come later for next year, and the flowers will start to become embryonic now. So if you can feed them a little bit now, maybe next year you can get a better crop.
Well, because they make delicious jams and delicious pies, right?
Yeah.
So I should should I use a granular if I can find 5?
Yeah, 10, if you can find a granular, like 5, 10, 15, or even at this point, there's some soluble formulations with that kind of setup.
Oh, okay. So do I put it in close to the trunk or put it out?
No,
by
the feeding
envelope?
roots come out always with a tree. It's always the drip line, the outer edge. Okay. Yeah, that's where the feeding roots are.
Okay. Well, then I'll call back next year to tell you how.
All right,
you got to give us an update on this.
All right, yeah.
Yeah, and if it doesn't work, we'll never have you on the show again, Michael.
I'll be shot.
So, yeah, and thank you for the advice. I really appreciate it. I hadn't even thought about fertilizing them in the summertime at all.
Oh, yeah, this is the time.
Okay, I'll do that. Anyway, the second Mi'kmaq word today is pneumoltus.
Pneumoltus. What's that mean?
The Mi'kmaq don't have a word for goodbye. The Mi'kmaq word means, pneumoltus means until we see each other or speak again.
Till we meet again.
Pneumoltus to you.
Yeah, until we see each other again, yeah.
Indeed.
Thank you so much, Keith.
Nice sentiment.
Cheerio.
Thank
care.
you.
Bye-bye.
Keith Cormier. Thank you so much. Always bring in the words. We got to learn more of those. That's really good.
Demotus.
We've got another caller on the line, but first, we want you on the line as well. If you are listening and have some cool garden updates or questions, 722-7111 or 1-800, anywhere in the province, 563-8255. You can also text. We got a bunch of texts coming in. 709-327-8206. Text us anytime, and I'll read your question out. I'll read it in a funny voice if you want. Doesn't matter to me. Lewis Stanley's on the line. Lewis, we were just talking about his Dahlia and his mock orange a little while ago. Are you there, Lewis, in Clarenville?
Oh, yes, I'm here.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Yep. How's the mock orange going, Lewis?
Well, it's got beautiful leaves and lots of stems, and I gave it a lot of the first number on the fertilizer because it said it needed a lot of phosphorus.
Nope.
So I gave it that, and I cut out a lot of the stems, and still it's never flowered, not in 12 years.
So let's go back here now, because the first number in fertilizer formulation is nitrogen, and nitrogen.
No, it's not nitrogen. It's phosphorus.
Okay, that's the second number then you're talking about.
Yeah, well, that's the one. That's the one I read about it. It said it probably needed phosphorus.
And
So
I think too, you might want to increase your potassium level. So here's what I'm suggesting: try a formulation of 1, 2, 3. So 1 part nitrogen, 2 parts phosphorus, and 3 parts potassium.
Yeah, I got that written down from the first one, from the text I sent.
Yeah.
But what I'm calling about is I've got a dappled willow, and it's about 3 years old, and it's on a standard. It's a beautiful thing, but it's getting top heavy now. Can I cut off trim that off? Will that spoil the pink flowers that comes with the pink leaves?
You got to give a little bit to get a bit. So
that's scary to me too.
No, prune it back. Let the flowering finish, and prune back.
Seems mean, though, right?
No,
it's going to be top heavy. It's going to be
prune it
like a willow tree.
Prune it.
Can you get on top of it? Do you have a ladder to get up there?
No, it's not that high. It's only about 6 feet tall. That's all. It's on a standard.
Yeah, it's on a standard. Is it the Japanese one that has the pinkish foliage?
That's right.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Yeah.
So
Pink
prune.
How much can you prune back a willow?
Oh God, it depends on the length of growth. I mean, yesterday I took a shrub back by a half.
Half?
Yeah.
But I wouldn't cut this one yet because it's beautiful.
Well, if it's
it's gotten to be really big on the top, and I don't want it that big.
Prune
it, yeah. I didn't know if that would spoil the pink flowers for next year.
No, prune now.
Tear it down right to the studs.
No, I wouldn't go that far. Okay. Prune it by a third.
A third, oh yeah, because it's really big now.
Yeah.
That's scary stuff.
Well, I mean, it's been a tremendous amount of growth this year. This has been one of the banner grow years in Newfoundland. It's just amazing, the growth. Yes, if you could, I would think if you were looking at going back and be able to look at a spruce tree on this date, I mean, the growth ring would be enormous. It'd be a real standout year if you were.
What is that? Is that the heat? Is that the water level?
Water, heat.
The whole thing.
The whole ball of wax.
So according to climate change, and Lewis, stick with us. According to climate change projections, we're supposed to get all kinds of precipitation, right? Like some places they get the desert, some places Newfoundland, it's 100% precipitation all the time, warmer years. Is that going to be good for Lewis's willow and everything?
It's going to change. It's going to change the opportunity here.
Yeah.
It's going to also, give you, like the man who talked about the semi-sweet cherries. That's going to be.
They're going to go full sweet.
Yeah, the variety is going to maintain that, but you're going to get more plants adaptable here. I sure don't want to be around when coconuts. And bananas become the native plants here. But no, we're seeing things change around us. The seasons are getting longer. The variety of plants that we're able to grow here now is getting broader. I'm seeing plants that be grown like zone 6, zone 7 in certain microclimates performing extremely well because climate change is here. It isn't coming. It's arrived.
Yeah. Does all that answer your question, Lewis?
Yeah, but the problem with my dahlias, they didn't sprout. I had to put in about 6 new ones, and about 3 of them sprouted, and the other 3 just stayed in the ground. I dug around them. They look perfect. They're fat, and they're not dried out or anything. Just didn't sprout.
Not doing a
They
thing.
didn't wake up.
Why?
So I can't get it to wake up.
Why? Well. How have you tried a little fertilizer when you put them in a little compost?
Well, it's in compost, so I'm going to plant them out after. I just put them in to wake them up. I was going to plant them in my garden after.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get them to sprout. And now they didn't sprout at all. They just stayed there.
Yeah.
Didn't do a
I
thing.
did give them a lot of water, but I do that, but still they won't wake up.
Did you look at them? Did you cut through the tissue to have a look if it's dark? Is it white inside the tissue?
Oh, it's perfectly formed, just like the ones that sprouted. They look the same. They're nice and firm, and they're not wet or soggy or rotten or dried out or anything. They're just sitting there doing nothing.
What time did you put them in?
Oh, I put them in about a month ago.
Yeah, they should be sprouting all right.
Oh, they should, yeah. I got them in one of those fish tubs because I was going to plant them back in the garden there once they sprouted, but I'm not going to bother them now because they didn't sprout at all.
Fish tubs.
I'll take them up in the fall and try them next year.
Yeah, fish tubs got drainage, good drainage.
Oh yes, I got holes in the bottom. Always I make sure of that.
What's the soil like?
Oh, it's a mixture of compost and topsoil and everything you could imagine.
Yeah. Peculiar.
Even bone meal, but they don't suppose they need that. But
I'm not much on bone meal. I'd rather use something like a superphosphate or something.
Not much on bone meal.
No,
Kate.
not much on bone meal. No nutrient in it. Nothing in
Really?
it very much. No.
and it helps the roots to grow, they say. But
211-0 is bone meal formulation.
Yeah.
You know, 2% nitrogen, 11% phosphorus, and no potassium. It's a bit of a misnomer.
There you go.
But anyway, will those tubers ever wake up, or will they just die?
Why don't you I tell you what you do now is try a little stir up the soil around it, get some air down around them, and try a little bit of 6-12-12 granular fertilizer, where you've basically opened up the soil, get some air down around it, and reduce your water a little bit. The ground, if the soil is wet, let it dry out a bit, and see what happens.
That's 6-12-12.
Yeah.
6-12-12.
Yeah.
I should do that.
All right.
But,
Good luck. Good luck with
okay.
your literal late bloomer dahlia there, Lewis.
Yeah. Anyway, I was glad to know that it was still alive. It didn't sprout, but it's still alive.
Yeah.
Try a little sand in that mix too, because I've seen dahlias do really, really well in sandy loam, and they seem to thrive. So try to get some sand in there, so you can get some more porosity.
Okay, I'll try that too.
Yep.
I've tried everything.
Well, here you go. Here's some more things.
We've got more things.
to try. I'm not going to give up on them anyway.
No, don't give up.
They're new ones for this year.
Yeah.
We're not giving up on you, Lewis.
There's another month of good growing to come, Lewis. As I said, get some sand worked in the pile, 6-12-12. Don't water so heavy.
I figured winter is going to come next month because we're way advanced. That's what I'm worried about.
That's the way it works. Yeah.
I don't believe
All
that.
right.
I don't believe that.
Thanks for calling in, Lewis. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Good
And
luck.
thank you for your help.
Keep us posted on how it goes, okay?
Yeah.
I will.
All right, amazing.
Thank you, Lewis.
That was Lewis.
Yep.
Next caller on the line is your neighbor down in Portugal Cove, I suppose. Dick is on the line.
Miles, I've got to call you back.
Oh, Dick, how are you?
Very good, Michael. I was listening to 2 or 3 calls there, and cherries usually flower quite a bit earlier than apples, so
Yeah.
he may not have had the pollinators.
Mm-hmm.
My experience with them is that they depend a lot on ants and very small insects early in the spring.
Yeah.
As opposed to what you might see
Bees.
on an apple, I would think.
Yeah. Well, Dick, you're the right man now. So I'm going to pose a question back to you, because one of the topics that I thought I'd share with the listeners is what I call respect for the environment and environmental awareness.
Yeah.
And I wanted to try to bring that up because I know you and I share a lot of common thoughts on this notion, and how important it is to uphold buffers around waterways, ponds, streams. And sadly, we're living in a place where the order of the day is to densify everything, and to hell with water purity and cleanliness. And that seems a sad kind of comment, that we're in that kind of a situation here where development seems to take precedent over the environment.
Yeah, the problem is that people don't recognize it until it's gone.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You can look at numerous streams around various places, and not necessarily in Newfoundland, but there are some. And you can say, okay, that used to be nice and clear.
Yeah.
But it's not now. What's going on, you know? And usually that's because of that sort of thing. Over-enrichment, too much fertilizer near it, you know, draining into it.
Yeah.
And the whole thing about buffers is that the roots of the trees and so on, they take out a lot of stuff. They slow down the runoff and all this sort of thing. And, you know, basically help to keep it clean. They stop the siltation and all kinds of things.
Yeah.
And the other side of that, of course, is that the fish suffer in the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, that's a value that, you know, it's not easy to replace.
Yeah. It's interesting. We were just speaking here before the show came on about reminiscence of, I remember my mother-in-law talking in my courting days about the fun she had swimming in Rennie's River. And I remember myself swimming in the Waterford River. And then I was asking, gee, you know, does anybody swim in these rivers anymore? Are they safe to swim in? Is Kitty Vitty safe to swim in? You know, water today, I mean, too much water in India because of climate change. The French nobly trying to clean up the Seine today to swim the triathlon. Too much doo-doo in the river. $1 billion. I asked the question, will the French abandon this or will they continue on to try to clean up the Seine?
I think they're going to keep on because once you're in, you know, sort of thing. But, you know, I mean, the same thing with Thames this year. They cancelled the Oxford-Cambridge boat race for the same reason.
Wow.
You know, that's unbelievable because they're not even in the river, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
That sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's funny you should say about Rennie's River. I remember a guy who used to swim up by St. Patrick's Mercy Home every day when I came here.
Yeah.
You know, just about, you know, at least until it was, while it was still half civil.
Yeah.
He did that for years and so on. But if he went downstream, and if you went downstream at the bridge, you know, Carpathian Road, is it? No, the next one down.
Yeah.
Anyway,
where the tennis courts are. Where the tennis courts are.
Oh, yes. And just look over the bridge.
Yeah.
And you'll see the filth coming out of what used to be a major feeder brook that comes up, you know, came from Wishing Well, where people used to swim.
Yeah, Kelly's Brook.
Yeah. And all that needs to be done with that is to, you know, because the green space just about all the way along its course, it's in a pipe.
Yeah.
Take it out of the ground, open it up.
Yeah.
Let it breathe, you know, this kind of thing.
Yeah. Same thing at Mundy Pond and the water that runs down through Victoria Park. Boy, we were just talking here about the waterfalls there. What a wonderful display of water energy. And the fear of children falling into it, boy, you know, these are lame excuses. You know, education barriers. Boy, you bury a waterfall because you're scared. Of, you know, it just doesn't add up. You know,
that actually did happen because a child fell in and got trapped in the culvert running out to the harbour and did drown.
Yeah.
But a simple grate solves that problem.
Exactly.
You don't need to bury the whole damn brook. You know?
I agree.
Yeah, but back to your other stuff, just briefly. The dahlia, if they don't have, you know, I used to work for a nursery and we had 200 varieties we used to deal with.
Yeah.
And if they don't have the neck on, you know, at the top,
yes,
that's where the sprouts come from. The nice fat little potato thing is only the energy reserve, but it's not where the life is.
Yeah.
And that may be his problem.
Yeah.
The other one I wanted to ask you about, do you remember Wilf did a whole lot of work on Amelanchier, you know, the chocolate pears? I wonder what became of that, or whether any of them were resistant to rust.
That collection, I think, that goes back to a professor of horticulture from the University of Guelph. I think his name was Hilton. He had done a lot of the collections around that, and I saw that collection, 5-6 years ago. It sat there, and I don't know if anybody's done any work on it, but it was an interesting collection within that Amelanchier genus, and a great collection to be drawn on for those kinds of things like resistance to the rust.
Yeah, but and possibly our own wild ones.
Yes.
As opposed to the cultivated ones, you might find something somewhere.
Yeah.
Related to that, but I bought one from you, I think, years ago, a cultivated one.
Yeah.
But it's always had rust.
Yeah.
And I wondered if that was because
it might be.
Maybe the local ones are resistant. I don't know. I really haven't looked hard enough.
I've been looking at them. I've seen some of the rust in the native ones as well. So it's not. Yeah. It's kind of endemic.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a tough problem. Yeah, and it's too bad because they're good for us. They're good for birds.
Beautiful.
So on,
Well, another plant.
Another plant. Dozen different names.
Yeah, it does. Well, another plant like that is the wild raisin, which got decimated by the viburnum beetle, and that plant, a beautiful plant as well, and it's been 15 years since that decimation. But today I'm starting to see it come back. The cycle of infestation is over, and now the regrowth and coming back of that species is happening, thankfully.
Nature is healing.
Yeah.
Me too. I'm looking at the top of one that's about 15 feet tall because it grows up against other trees.
Yeah.
Most of them, as you know, only grow about 4 or 5 feet or something like that.
Yeah.
Amazing. Dick, thanks so much for calling in today. Appreciate your questions.
You're welcome.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Dick.
Amazing. The numbers to call, 722-7111 or 1-800-563-8255. My name is Andrew Hawthorn, and we're talking to Michael Murray, the owner of Murray's Gardens, with your questions. One of those questions coming from Diane in St. John's. Hello, Diane.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you for sticking with us here. How are you doing today?
Good, thank you. I had a question about a couple of things. One was my potatoes. I'm a fairly new gardener, but this is the 4th year, I guess, that I've planted potatoes in a community garden.
Yeah.
We planted them in June, and then we had all that rain.
Yeah.
I think it was like the 9th of June or something.
Yeah.
But it seems like they bolted. I don't know if it's possible, and that's even the right word, but they grew very quickly.
Yeah.
But they haven't flowered. Is it a necessity that they flower in order to develop?
Yeah. Well, what flowering when potatoes flower, it's an indication that tuberization, or the formation of the tubers, the potatoes, is happening. So until it flowers, it's not likely you're going to get a lot of potato set or tuber set. Tell me about the fertility. When you planted them, did you use any kind of compost, fertilizer? An old-time fertilizer for potato culture has always been 6-12-12 down in the bottom of a trench, and then bury them in, and then heal them up. Tell me about what you did when you planted them, and did you use any fertilizer or compost at that time?
Well, we did. We had to, because it was a community garden, we had to bring our own soil. So we brought the soil and just to top it up. Now, they had a base soil.
Yeah.
And we did top it up. We used my own compost, which I just got one of those backyard tumbler composts. And we did use 6-12-12, but we put it was granular, the granular stuff, of course, and we just kind of put it throughout the soil that we put on top of what was already there.
Yeah.
Now, since then, we went up and what my mother used to call banking them up.
Yeah, hilling them up.
We did do that.
Good.
And we left like a trench in the middle, the plot is really too small to actually trench the potatoes, so we just kind of keep them covered and check all of that. But my fear is that should they be flowered by now, and what else can I do? I guess.
They're just starting to flower now in my garden, just the beginnings of it.
Okay.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what you might do is if you got the inclination. Last year in our garden, we went off and we got some kelp. And then we dug that in around the potatoes about this time of year. And boy, did it make a big difference. So, getting something like kelp, raw kelp, wash it off, get the salt off of it if you can, then incorporate it around the outside edges, bury it in, don't leave it, and bury it in. And it seemed to make a big difference in our potato crop. Potatoes love water. They will size up depending on how wet you can get, but they like to do a good drink of water, not all the time, but a good steady stream of water for a period of time, then stop. Maybe a week later, good watering again.
Okay.
But I try if you got the inclination to get a bit of kelp and work in around them, that may help.
With the flowering.
Yeah.
So I'm originally
and the tuber formation too.
And the tuber formation. I'm originally from Twillingate, so I wouldn't have had any problem getting kelp a few years ago. Yeah. But I guess now I'd have to go down like the Middle Cove, somewhere like that, and just
Spaniards Bay is a good beach. Down, you'll see some of it down around Holyrood's another good beach. Or you're going to have to take a trip. You're going to have to take a trip back to Twillingate, I think.
Yeah, I know. I think I'm going to have to go home.
That sounds like a great time.
That sounds like a good trip to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll do that and bring some in washed off and put it around. Yeah, sounds good.
Diane, thanks for calling in. Go ahead.
Sorry, I had just one more question quickly.
Sure.
My tomato plants are doing really well, flowering, and I got a couple tomato plants out which are green.
Yeah.
But I feel the time has come to kind of fertilize them or feed them, and I'm not sure. I've looked at so many different ones.
Yeah.
I do have granular 10-10-10 and the 6, the other one you were saying, which I've had bought. Yeah. But I wondered if there was anything specific I should be using.
Try. There's some tomato food formulations that have 5, 10, 15. The other thing that you can do, if you've got lots of flowers, some fruit set, it's a good idea to start stripping out some of the excess foliage. Because that sometimes you get too much green growth and the plant goes to what I call the vegetative side and doesn't put enough into the fruit side or flowering side. Strip them down, bring your formulation over to a 5, 10, 15 or 1, 2, 3 formulation. Pay attention to your ventilation. This is really hot weather for tomatoes today. A fan working today to get good air circulation helps as well. But we've been stripping down our tomatoes pretty heavily right now, and we've got a great crop. But it really means focusing on the fertility and also trying to reduce the amount of vegetative stuff around the stems.
So how do I know which ones? Like, I'm always afraid every time I snap one off, I'm like, oh my God, like tomatoes could have grown on that. Like, I'm never sure.
If you go into the axils where you'll see them initiate, you'll see that's a vegetative versus a floral. Listen, I've found tomatoes love to be punished.
Wow.
Yes, okay. Yeah.
Right.
Don't be scared.
Okay.
Don't be scared. Strip them out. Strip them down.
Okay. All right, will do.
Good.
All right.
Thanks, Diane.
Bye-bye.
We're getting a little blue here on the gardening show. That's totally fine. We've only got a few minutes left. We're going to leave a little early today for the Olympics, but we do have some text questions in as well. If you have a text question, you can still call in, of course. We'll try to get you on, whatever. 722-7111 or 1-800-563-8255. Or you can text, as these fine folks have, 709-327-8256. Our first question, good afternoon, guys. Please ask, what's causing my green bean leaves to be more yellow than they should be? What is the best fertilizer for them? Why does he have yellow green beans?
Yellow leaves. Lack of nitrogen. Try a little 20-20-20 and see if you can get that yellow to turn to green, because it sounds like you've got a nitrogen depletion.
Wow. Just that's it. Hey, just
beans and legumes love to have limestone.
Limestone.
Yeah, like a sweeter soil.
Okay, there you go. Another question we've got right now. I would like to know what flowers to plant to have year-round color in the garden. We're looking for perennials here. Most of mine bloom only in July and August. Year-round color in their garden.
Well, you start off in the spring looking at things like rock garden plants are always good spring bloomers. Then you go on to things like bleeding heart are old favorites. Lupin's another old favorite. Then you can get on to this time of year. Stilby is a good bloomer. I love spring flowering pulmonaria or soldiers and sailors. Right now, you can get various types of oxeye daisies, members of the daisy family. Asters is a good fall bloomer. So picking out plants, if you get a good guide, look at plants that, spring, blooming perennials, then early summer, midsummer, late summer, fall. Sedums, Autumn's Joy is a good fall one. I've got one now coming into bloom, and it will continue to bloom right in through to late September. Always dependable. So look through, and if you go to a garden center and ask them about a description of a perennial border with that kind of range of bloom coming from, as I said, spring right through to the fall. So it's a question of picking out those plants that will bloom through the season. No perennial blooms right through the entire season. Annuals do, but perennials have a shortened bloom period. Some a month, some a week.
This has to be like the eternal flower grower's question, right? Like, how do I rig this garden so that there's always something? That's
why horticulture is both science and art.
Yeah.
It's combining both to create something that's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Here's a question about managing a healthy way to deal with pests. I've got a laburnum tree filled with leaf miners, wrecking the leaves, but I don't want to do something too hard to it because I also have a garden full of butterflies. Well, what do I do? How do I save this tree and the butterflies?
Leaf miners are really tough insects.
They're gross. They're on little strings, right? They come down.
That's more larval. Leaf miners will get in between the epidermis, lower and upper, and they'll chew out all the vegetative material between the layers of a leaf. So because they're inside the leaf chewing away.
They're in the leaf.
They're
like
inside.
A sleeping bag or
the leaf is like a sandwich.
Okay.
Lower and upper epidermis, and then you've got the protoplasm, the cells inside, and they are what insects love. Some of them chew the whole leaf. Some of them get inside and suck the goods.
The protoplasm out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't expect to be talking about protoplasm today. I admit, but this is exciting to me.
It's part of life, cellular biology.
So what do we do about the leaf miners without killing other things?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you've got a conflict here: the butterflies versus the leaf miner. I mean, at one time there used to be some really effective but very persistent pesticides like Saigon. I saw the other day a malathion. I couldn't believe it was still on the shelf in some places. But these are systemic pesticides, insecticides, and they'll get in and they can attack and take care of leaf miners. But now you're getting into chemical warfare, and the butterflies aren't going to fare well.
There's no way to arm the butterflies so that they can attack.
The Saigon was an interesting pesticide because you painted it on the bark, and then it was absorbed into the conductive tissue, and then it flowed up through the plant. And attack the miner that way, but that's been banned.
It's been banned.
Banned, yeah.
Okay. I mean, I don't think we want to mess around with the
banned
we don't pesticides.
No, neither would I.
Okay, so what do we do? Just you can't do anything. You're gonna have to sacrifice the butterflies. Yes. Who knows?
I always believe that nature sorts it out sometimes in the end.
Nature, just leave it.
A cut back. I would cut. First, I always like to prune hard, get diseases and insect problems out of it, but just pruning out damaged material.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pruning is a great exercise.
Pruning is scary to me.
You need to come for a pruning seminar.
I guess I do. I have a lilac. It's really high.
Prune now.
It's all over the prune right now.
Is it finished blooming?
It's way finished blooming.
Prune out all the blooms.
But that seems like punishing it. It's my friend.
It's like everything else in life. You got to be a little unkind to get the love back.
Tough love with the lilac.
Tough love with the lilac. Yeah.
Tough love with the lilac. We only got a couple minutes left.
Yeah.
What is in bloom right now? What should we be planting? What can be harvested right now? What's the season
right now it's strawberries are being harvested all over the place right now. Gooseberries are coming into bloom right now. So just on that side, I'd say bake apples are setting up in the wild.
Heck yeah.
That's coming in now. The way I've seen the fruit set for blueberries is going to be a good crop there. In the garden, I mean, we've got, everything from beets, carrots are coming in now. Potatoes are about a month away. We've had an exceptional growing season. Anything in the leaf from lettuce through beans are starting to come in now. So,
wow.
There's lots of stuff.
Michael Murray, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Appreciate all of your questions as well. If I didn't get to you, sorry about that. Hopefully, there's always another gardening show coming. We got about 20 seconds. Stay tuned for more Olympic coverage and see what's going on. I missed the skateboarding out there. Was that any good? Did we win a medal in that? Nathan's laughing at me. I don't think we did. All right, stay tuned. Thank you so much for listening, folks. My name's Andrew Hawthorn. Adam's back tomorrow. Take care.